With The Invisible Man sneaking onto the big screen, it's easy to forget that its story is one of the oldest sci-fi tales. Not only was it one of the first popular works of genre fiction, the power of invisibility to reveal the darkness and madness inside us has captivated and terrified audiences for centuries. So let's dive into the often opaque history of the Invisible Man. The fear of the invisible finds its roots in ancient folklore, going all the way back to Greek gods using invisibility to trick and manipulate humanity to their ends. Hades himself used invisibility to sneak into Mount Olympus, to play tricks on his brother and mightiest of the gods, Zeus. Yet, Plato's Republic shows us the first example of mere mortals using invisibility to further their own greedy ends. In the story, a shepherd named Gyges finds a ring with a horse on it that allows the wearer to turn invisible at will. Gyges uses the ring to seduce the queen and murder the king, and successfully takes dominion over his simple kingdom. This story would later have a clear influence on a certain fantasy series that also featured an important invisibility ring. While the Lord of the Rings showcased young hobbits resisting the corrupting power of invisibility, other stories would focus more on how invisibility ultimately reveals the unfiltered desires of those who possess it. This concept would feature heavily in H.G. Wells' book, The Invisible Man, written in 1897 between two other influential Wells stories, The Time Machine and The War of the Worlds. Yet, unlike most of Wells' other work, which featured monsters and aliens, the true monster of The Invisible Man was very human. In fact, the protagonist of the story, Griffin, is much like Wells himself. Both Griffin and Wells were poor teachers, incredibly innovative, and often felt invisible to the rest of the world around them. Perhaps The Invisible Man reveals more about Wells than he lets on. In the story, Griffin arrives at a small English inn during a snowstorm, wearing a long-sleeved, thick coat and entirely bandaged face. No part of Griffin's skin is visible except a clearly fake pink nose. After a robbery and with strange glass bottles arriving at Griffin's room, Griffin is confronted by the innkeeper, who discovers Griffin's invisibility. Griffin escapes and begins terrorizing the countryside villages. After being shot, Griffin takes shelter in an old teacher's house, where he reveals that he discovered a way to become invisible in order to enact a reign of terror across the nation. Griffin is betrayed by his teacher and dies trying to get revenge. Yet, the teacher steals Griffin's notes to recreate the experiment. In 1933, Universal Pictures adapted the novel into a film starring Claude Rains. The film mostly followed the books, with the major difference being that Griffin's invisibility caused him to ultimately go mad, rather than his madness leading to his creating invisibility. The film quickly became one of Universal's most popular monster movies, spawning several sequels, including The Invisible Man Returns in 1940, as well as a screwball comedy called The Invisible Woman that same year, because apparently invisibility makes men go mad and women clumsy. The character also appeared in Abbott and Costello Meet the Invisible Man, continuing the character's descent into the comedic rather than sheer horror. The Invisible Man made several appearances in TV, comics, and movies, notably in a 2000 Sci-Fi Channel TV series, as well as The League of Extraordinary Gentlemen in 2003. But he rarely stood out after his heyday in the 30s and 40s. Several attempts were made to return the character to his horror roots, including a film set in Universal's ill-fated Dark Universe, starring Johnny Depp, but the film never manifested after the failure of The Mummy. However, it looks like The Invisible Man may finally reappear in our nightmares, with the latest film The Invisible Man starring Elizabeth Moss, showcasing once again that even in modern times, the true evil within all of us will easily come out, as soon as no one can see that it's there at all.